Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear, and this is the Donner B1. It is a super straightforward monosynth with a sequencer, very clearly inspired by the Roland TB-303. Yes, another 303 derivative to add to the pile. Without even really looking up any more, just writing down the ones I could remember while I was working on the outline, I've got the Behringer clone, the Roland TB-03, and the IRA TB-3, the Cyclone analogic bass bot, the DinSync, that's really a recreation, the Avalon, the Zoxbox, sort of the Pioneer mono profit voice. I think that's the AS1. But my point is, there are a lot of ways to do the 303 thing. And it is a very specific thing, but I'm asking, do we really need another one? Do we really need another 303? And the subtitle, which might actually end up being a little bit more important, is this Donner B1 a good 303 clone? Is it worth your time if you're curious about 303 clones? And that is probably the main question I'm going to answer. But how did I get this, you ask? Donner reached out to me to show off a different product. I said I wasn't interested in that, but if they wanted to send me one of these, I'd be happy to show it off. And this showed up a few weeks later. They, of course, aren't paying me anything, though, and they don't get to tell me what to say. I know, and you know, that to them, this video is worth way more than the $170 this bad boy is going to cost you if you, and I'm not kidding, use code Jorb at checkout when you buy direct from Donner's website. I didn't ask them to do that. This is part of what they sent me back in the email. I think it's too funny to not mention. So if you want to very conveniently, through my affiliate link in the description below, head to the Donner website. I can get a kickback if you buy anything there, but use code Jorb at checkout. I don't know if it's just for the B1. I think it is. It really should be. Anyway, you know who is actually paying me just to do what I do? My supporters on Patreon. So a special thank you today. I let all my Patreon money just build up. I didn't withdraw it because I wanted to spend it all on something that would help the channel. And I got to the point where I needed to buy a new camera. And you're watching the very first aired footage that I'm capturing on a brand new camera, a Panasonic GH5 that I got a good deal on, but as soon as I bought it, I cashed out my Patreon money and I covered it. So thank you very, very much. This is my new main camera. It is nicer. I probably look completely different, not just because of the mustache today. Even if my T5i served me really, really well, and it did serve me well, 1 million people saw work I did on that, which is just ballistic. I'm more than happy to demote that 9-year-old workhorse and it's one dead pixel, which somebody finally noticed, to backup duty. So big thank you to my supporters on Patreon. I really cannot overemphasize how much that meant, how much it means to have this physical manifestation of people's generosity. It's amazing. So thank you very, very much. You know who you are. Okay. I'm actually getting paid by one more place today as well, Skillshare. Thanks to them, this video will have no mid-roll ads, and they'll get a 45-second mention later in the video. But let's start. No more exposition. I just want to show you this synth now. Let us move over to the table. Here we are with the Donner B1 Syn bass. It doesn't say B1 actually anywhere on the unit. And as far as looking different than other 303 clones, it does. Kudos for that. On the back, we have full-size MIDI in and out, a full-size jack out. I love all of those things. USB-C, and I believe it does MIDI over USB, along with a few other things. I believe there's a software editor. I'm not going to talk about that at all because it's not something I would use. If you're familiar with 303s at all, nothing here is really going to be a surprise. You might just go, oh, that's a different way to do that. That's a cool way to do that. But all of these buttons here are your keyboard. They don't feel very good, but that's not really the point. They're to see something that you can tell is a keyboard and input notes that way, or later there'll be the steps to our sequencer. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Let's start where I would always start, with the oscillator. Our wave is either a sawtooth or a square, with not many controls over either. Our filter, and it's hard to show this in isolation without the envelope, so I'm going to turn the envelope contribution all up and its decay, and our cutoff, so you can hear the cutoff totally open. Because if I don't put the filter envelope contribution all the way up, filter doesn't totally open. Great, nothing crazy. I don't know anything about the filter. If I'm feeling really ambitious, I'll open this and see if I recognize any integrated circuits. Or you know what, realistically, I'm going to go online and see if somebody else has done that already. Regardless, it is resonant, of course. Does this sound like the 303 filter? I don't really think so, but I'm definitely not an expert. But it does have a sharp resonance that isn't completely overbearing. And I think that's kind of the whole point. You can see there. Loses a ton of bass when you turn up the resonance. No matter, we have control of that envelope, so let me get it to a point where we can hear what the envelope is doing. We can make it a lot quicker. Our envelope is just a decay stage. No attack, no sustain. Just a decay stage. Great, that is all of the synthesis, so to speak. That is just like the 303. That doesn't give you any additional features. That doesn't change any of the ones that are there. You know, this is exactly the synthesis control you have on the 303. But we have two effects. We have a drive called saturation here that I'm going to slowly turn up. When combined with what might be a little bit too much resonance, sounds cool. And that's a classic 303 thing. I like that a bunch. We all know that artists like Daft Punk combine the original TB-303 with distortion pedals all the time, and a lot of the clones have since included them in there. I say a lot of them. I don't really know. I know at least the Behringer one has. Anyway, this also has a delay, which is a little unique. I'm going to put all the controls here at noon. And sounds good to me. I think it might be analog. And I know Donner, one of their most popular pedals, at least from when I was in the guitar pedal game, was the Yellow Fall, which is a very simple analog delay that I know a lot of people really enjoyed. I wish the feedback could be resonant. That's okay. Yeah, the manual doesn't say if it's analog or not. It kind of sounds like it is. But you can never tell these days. Digital delays are quite good as well. That's doing a very analog thing to me. Cool. I wish it could get a little louder. I wish the feedback was a little more dramatic, but this is still very usable. Also, something I did right when I opened this, and I'm going to do it again, when I go to turn the cutoff knob, I keep changing the pitch knob just because it's the most accessible over here. So I'm putting the big knob from the master volume on the cutoff. Donner, I'm sorry, I like this better. Great, okay. So the sequencer section, you control it with this little calculator zone over here, and I think it was 21. I was messing with that earlier. And in this mode, your keyboard isn't a keyboard anymore. It's a way to transpose the sequence. Of course. Like, that's already the full kit and caboodle. This is a full 303 thing already. I don't even need to type in my own sequences. There are 128 pattern locations, which is pretty generous. And from the start, a lot of them are already filled with stuff that honestly is fun. And if you change to the next one, it'll flash. the light will flash, and it will wait till the end of the pattern to change to the next sequence. And if you go through a bunch, so kindly, it will wait until you get to the one you want. Let's just pick 40. But that, as a performance feature, is actually really well thought out. Okay, to create our own pattern, we go into this record/edit mode. If I hold this clear button for a couple seconds, we'll go back to a totally blank pattern. And I'm just going to use the black key so I don't have to keep track of what key I'm using. And we can just input notes as they are. Or we can change octaves. Okay, super simple. And now if I go back into record edit, I need to click up to the step I last left off on, or if I want to edit an existing one, put a different note in there. But this is where we were. It doesn't just have to be a note, so it can be a note plus a modifier. And the modifiers, you'll know, are accents, which increase the volume and the filter cutoff by an amount you set here on this knob. So there's two notes that are accents. And then slides. Slides slide into the next note. So there's two slides. Let's do a rest on steps 12 and 13. And then on 14, I'm going to do a ratchet, just so you can hear it. And a ratchet is extra triggers within the step. So let's trigger 3 times in there. And then let's go to the next note and just do the tempo way down. And you can hear right here, 9 and 10 are accents. 11 and 12 are slid. 11 and 12 are our slides. I'm actually going to go back in and make slide a much higher note so we can hear what it sounds like when you slide up to a note. Nice. And you can hear our ratchet on 15. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off 16. So you can really hear what you're hearing on step 15. Cool. So let me turn off the effects, and then let's listen to how different accent makes it. So 9 and 10 are our accent right here. That's max. Woo! That's way louder. It's sort of lessened when you have the saturation on, but that almost makes it work a little bit better. And let's put the delay back on, and why not? Now, these modifiers are not static. If I hold slide or accent, it will apply that to the current step. So watch what I'm doing down with my fingers here. And we can do both at once. And if I hold the hold button, it will... Oops, I just saved over that pattern. That's fine. If I hold hold, it re-triggers that note. But if that note has a slide, lets it ring out as long as the decay would, by the sounds of it. And then if I let go, it just picks up right where it was. Ratchet works as well. Sounds almost like a sort of glitchy delay when you do all 4 ratcheting steps. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. That's everything. Oh, I didn't show you gate length. If I go into record and edit, and I hold gate length, I can set that to a smaller number. And the note press, if you want to think of the note press as that, will be shorter. And it can go all the way up to 8, which is a constant tide, where it will flow into each next note. Great. Great. I wish that were per step, but I'm happy to see the addition of it. I don't think that's a standard thing for the 303, and I'm not familiar with any of the clones that do it. I think that's actually everything for the sequencer features. There is also an arpeggiator. Let's turn it on, and who could have guessed arpeggiates our notes? We can hold it as well. And I wish that the modifiers worked here. You can toggle accent on and off, but you can't change anything other than gate length. And I didn't know you could change gate length until I pressed it right there. But how cool would it be for the performance to be letting the arpeggiator go and hitting the slide and the accent over here? So there you go, Donner. There's a feature request update. Let's slide, accent, and ratchet work while the arpeggiator is going. As far as I/O, we also have an auxiliary in, which I don't think goes through the filter. I think it just gets mixed with the output. We have a headphone out, which is cool. Analog sync in and sync out, which is really, really handy and makes this a good choice for having on a table paired with a bunch of other hardware. DAWless jams, everybody's favorite. Yeah, so 128 slots. I'm just going to click way far up and listen to some of them. And it's fun to just play with. And you know what? I think right out of that, the sequencer is fun, and that's a big part of what I'm going to conclude with. I'm going to give Skillshare their 45 seconds, and then I'm going to conclude. Skillshare is an online learning community with classes that cover thousands of different topics. It's a great place to learn new skills or really grow the skills you've already got. Skillshare has courses that cover all sorts of creative domains. And I mentioned in the beginning that I just got a new camera, and in trying to figure out as much as I can about it and how to use it well, I figured I would check on Skillshare. And lucky for me, there's some very specific coverage. A gentleman named Greg Hung does a whole course about getting better video and photos with the GH5, which is super, super helpful for somebody who's new to a lot of these filming and camera concepts. To have somebody break it down and give specific tips for the hardware that's in my hands is very, very valuable to me. Anyway, if you think Skillshare sounds like it would be interesting to you, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And I think that's plenty of time to figure out if it is a good fit for you. And if you have something specific in mind that you want to learn, you could totally get through a good chunk of that class in that trial period. And if you need more, decide if it's worth it for you and your goals to keep going. So anyway, so there you go. Skillshare's mention is done. I'm going to cover the camera, maybe even symbolically, to move into this new section. If we're talking about the B1 as a good 303 derivative, if we're talking about what makes a derivative good, I think it needs to lead you to the same place or similar enough results, if that makes any sense. And I'm just going to show you a clip. In the background now is a clip of when I was trying to get familiar with the B1. And it turns out all you really need for a 303 derivative to feel good is 4 on the floor kick drum and a bit of gratuitous knob turning. And that's really when it clicked for me that it's super fun to just plug in a pattern and let it rip. And even the preset patterns are fun if you're just trying to like figure out how to feel this thing out, you know what I mean? And then I really want to highlight how fun it is to use accent, slide, ratchet, and that hold as like performance elements, and how fun and immediate and easy it is to change up your pattern by just holding those for a little bit. I don't know if any of the other 303 clones do that. I haven't really used them. That to me puts this kind of in a different category. I think as performance options, as performance controls, that's a super, super fun way to interact with this thing. Instead of having to work out a bunch of different sequences in advance, and then I suppose they call them patterns here, but then click through them and remember your numbers or write down your numbers, just being able to throw in slides and accents, very, very fun, very, very fast. But to like go back to the beginning, do we really need another 303 clone? Before this video, I would have definitely said no. I would have said that is a sound we've all heard and we all know and we've all done it, and we can get there on things that aren't specifically for doing this. But after using it, I'll say sure. Why not? If you already have a 303 derivative, it does make sense to get another one, I think, and the B1 isn't unique enough or different enough to, you know, give you anything totally fresh if you have had another derivative and it didn't click for you. But if you don't have any of them or you haven't had any of them and you want to try out acid riffs at a really reasonable price point, then I say check it out, because the B1 is fun and 303 derivatives are fun. I had a great time learning it. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to go buy some and let this sucker keep looping. My name's Jorb. I love gear. That includes the Donner B1, the Sin bass. Thank you for watching. Cheers and so long.